Jason Rigby, Chief Conscious Marketing Officer of TARTLE. How are you this morning?
Alexander McCaig. Doing well. We just had some coffee.
Yep.
We did an earlier podcast that was great. I did a bunch of reading this morning.
That's good.
And then I read on our articles this morning. I meditated, so I'm ready to go.
You ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
You know what? Walking through New York City. You know they have those guys that are just like unloading like fake Gucci bags out of the back of vans.
Yes, I love that. There's something. Why is there a part of me that loves the whole like
hustling? People just hustling.
Yes, I love that.
No, I do like it, right? And it's like it's one of those. Do you have a permit? You know what I mean?
Hey, buddy, let me show you something I got here in my van. I just love that.
And they look really legit.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And this fact of people creating these. Well, I'm just putting my coffee down, folks. These fake counterfeit bags, or even if it is a legitimate one, knowing if it came from the right factory or was manufactured in Italy by some SPA, that requires history and tracking. But when you're buying those bags, you're like, I don't know where it came from, but I am buying it at a discount. It looks pretty good, right? You know what I mean? So it's kind of when we look at what blockchain has done, it's like the question is, can we apply that to things like manufactured items? Where is this legitimate? What is the chain of ownership on the manufacturing of this handbag?
Right.
Or for instance, like an Intel processing chip. Can we put the blockchain on it to say, oh, it's been on this device only. No one's ever stripped it and reused it in a different device.
It permanently records everything that goes on.
And that's the cool part about the blockchain. It looks at the provenance, and what that means is who's the original sole owner and origin of this thing.
Right.
And how is it moved over the course of its life? So as it touches hands or it becomes purchased, how do we take that and put it into the supply chain so we can say that this isn't a counterfeit bag?
Yeah, I would, let's use something that I think we can run through the whole chain for people to fully understand this. Let's say it's a super secure server and it's a whole rack and it's going to a government agency.
Okay.
And there's multiple components in there. And then you have this one company and they specialize in making these super secure quantum computer top secret, because each of the
don't get me amped up
top secret computers that are in this rack with this huge cooling system, and it's going to the CIA.
Yeah.
So how would this work with that?
Well, that's interesting because when you think about the supply chain, right?
Right.
If data was in that supply chain, what it's saying is we can track when it leaves this area and a new owner, or if it hits a new type of hard drive, it's going to write that change of hands or geographic location to the blockchain.
They can put an odometer in there,
right?
A GPS locator.
Yeah, it's like a
Isn't
GPS locator. Yeah,
it's like this was going 55 miles per hour, so that they could track that rack unit that's in the back of that big truck.
Yeah,
to know that if it stopped, like, okay, this is going to CIA. It was in North Carolina and it stopped for 2 hours. Why did it stop for 2 hours? Was there espionage going on?
Was somebody messing with these things, like putting in something false? You know what I mean? That's sort of metadata.
Right.
Okay, metadata is just the descriptive extra data that comes with the original thing. That can be tracked in the smart contract, and this contract is something that is verified on the blockchain. So, is this contract of information that talks about the genesis of this item? We can say that move from here to here. Why did it go over to the CIA? It was supposed to continue to go here, but somebody removed its location or the natural occurrence of how it was supposed to change hands, and they were messing with it here. That would be recorded,
right?
Which is interesting. And so when you look at things to see if they are false or not, when you're talking about securing the supply chain, they spoke to the idea that identity is not enough. Saying, here's the original object. It's still the original object when I received it. What happened in between? Something could have been manipulated and all you're receiving is the identity of it, but is the historical occurrence of how it continued to keep that identity safe and stable? I don't know. Let me go back into the blockchain that has been recorded and it's on a public ledger to make sure that Nothing funky happened before I, as the end user, received it.
Yeah, remember the old school fears of like taking your wedding ring to the jeweler and then them putting like a cubic zirconium in there and take
like swapping
away.
the diamond out.
Yeah,
I brought a couple months ago recently got engaged, and we had brought the ring over to the jeweler, and obviously I bought the ring too big because I'm not intelligent and I didn't think about a good way to get it sized while I was making it. But I'm like, are you gonna give me that gold back that you're cutting out of that thing? I mean, like, this thing's pretty big. He's like, oh, it just turns to dust. Give me all the gold dust, like, I know what you're doing in here, you big pile of gold dust, melting it down.
Yeah, if you have one of those every day. No, but I mean, there was always this, it's like, so, and I think with diamonds, blockchain would be even more important.
Yeah.
To be able to, and artwork, they're doing that.
You know what it reminds me of? Did you ever see Blade Runner?
Yes.
How the eyeball has a written serial manufactured code in it that has a genealogy of its manufacturing. It was like a half-baked idea of blockchain, baked into Blade Runner. But that's an interesting concept because if we look at us as human beings and our own genealogy, we can trace that back. But we haven't done that for the products and services that we buy and interact with every single day. And an easy way for us to do that, to secure that supply chain, is to put in a genealogy on items, whether it be a desk chair or the camera that's recording us or these microphones or the processing chips within those microphones.
Right.
Having that genealogy, that record of history, verifies the identity and how we've moved or migrated. You can see the migration of us through our 23andMe to say we've moved from here to here to here to here, right? Well, we can do the same thing with whatever that object might be. It was made over here in Malaysia, manufactured, shipped here, gone here, touched this, did that. Now it's in my room. And I know for a fact that it's gone through these specific people, and I can go back and check the blockchain to say, I, in fact, have a legitimate product.
I love that. And so, getting back to, and people, I want people to understand this. So the CIA computer, I'm going to harp on this.
I love how you just rip on the CIA. That's fine. I don't care.
No. But so let's say that there was a circuit board in one of those systems. That circuit board, and the article talks about this, that circuit board from, the chips that are in the circuit board, each of those things can be recorded and validated.
That's exactly correct. So every component inside of your phone should have that validation. Because what if the CIA comes in and swaps something out, like a device that's listening, like they've tapped your phone? Well, that's not legitimized.
Yes.
Where's the genealogy of this? This wasn't supposed to be in here. And you can know that ahead of time. So not only do you have the physical manipulation, right, that you're, from a security standpoint, you're preventing through putting things on the blockchain with these smart contracts, but think about manipulation of data.
Yes.
So in medical trials and medical information, as doctors are sharing information between one another, no one can manipulate it like a game of telephone and say, oh, I can put my political ideologies and dogmas on this information and then share it to the person. We always have the genealogy, the progenesis of that data, the provenance of it,
right,
that can be verified. And that's another beautiful thing about TARTLE. Every time a piece of data is bought and sold on the marketplace, that's recorded on the blockchain. So where that was coming from in its progenesis. That's the beautiful part about it. So when someone begins to manipulate that raw information that was purchased, well, that's crap. Because we know for a fact that it was truthfully purchased here, and these are the people that owned it, and that was that raw data.
Yeah, and there was a CTO, Logan Spears of SixGill, and he talks about this. He said it's also useful in certain kinds of compliance environments. He said, we have a pilot with the company that does clinical trials where there's a high incentive to mess with the data. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about with the medical standpoint. Right. It prevents people from coming in and putting their biases on the information.
Well, and then a conclusion that you want to support you for, I need this
for your own
phase 3 clinical trial to go through.
And I can kind of tweak the data so it's in my favor. But data is agnostic.
Yes.
Data is non-dogmatic. Data is strictly observational. So it keeps it in that raw, beautiful format of what data is in its truthful state. That's the beauty about supplying that, about securing that supply chain management, whether it's supply chain of data or supply chain of a physical product.
Right. And one of the things that they talk about, and I think is interesting, is when they get into blockchain, is the forecast of what blockchain's going to end up being. And they talk about banking is 29%, process manufacturing is 11%, discrete manufacturing, which I like that word. What is it? I don't know. Is that like blow up dolls?
I have no discrete. I don't know what they're talking about with discrete. Yeah.
Discrete manufacturing, professional services, and then retail.
Yeah.
Retail 6%, professional. So to me, it shows, and then they have another 36%. But banking's got it.
Well, yeah, because banking requires identity,
Right.
and you're talking about saying who holds the value of those assets, and we want to make sure that they're transferred and recorded properly. There's an efficient way to do that without the reliance on a bank itself or a third party.
But this just shows me so much growth. Let's use high-end bags. So let's say Louis Vuitton wants to have blockchain for their bags, because if you're going to pay $2,500, why not have a blockchain? And then you can know every process of that bag.
Yeah, just put a low energy, RFID chip
Right.
inside the bag. Just stitch it right in. So if someone scans it, you can go back and then verify that bag over time.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really
and
cool.
you could also know exactly where it went and how it went from all the different, they could have that. They could have a big device that is on the bag from the moment the bag is being created and who it's being created by.
Or even if it's being returned to a store.
Yes.
Or when you're doing that initial purchase, I'd
Right.
stand there and be like, if I'm going to spend $2,000 on a handbag, which I think is stupid in the first place, scan it for me. Prove to me.
Yes.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Or if someone goes to return it, the store can be like, prove it.
Yes.
Prove
exactly.
you bought it from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that rids of receipts and all that other nonsense too.
Because 6% of retail, that says that blockchain is just in the very beginning.
No, it's just kicking off, and people will begin to see the value of not, of having that sort of decentralized network to, trust and verify without having a person to say, oh, this is it. It's just everybody saying that this is it.
Yeah, supply chain management, I think, is, especially with sensitive items, big items, is going to be the way of the future.
Most definitely.
Yeah, by far.
That was fun. Thanks.